People, today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. Democratic Party must respond to otherism, must respond to the Southern strategy. It must respond to the fact that there are more poor white Americans than there are black Americans. It must expand the tent and to speak to white individuals who are voting against their own economic interests. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from. There's one race, the human race, all human. And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Everyone has a right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Watch this.
You know the names of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, who were killed protesting Donald Trump's brutal immigration crackdown. But you may not know that the death rate at immigration facilities has more than doubled since Donald Trump returned to office. That's according to new analysis from Reuters. Records from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, show at least 50 people have died in detention since Trump launched his mass deportation campaign. They include people like 55-year-old Tuan Van Bui, a man from Vietnam. He came here in 1990 through a program that allowed Vietnamese children who were fathered by U.S. soldiers during the Vietnam War to immigrate to the United States, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer. He was arrested last August at a check-in meeting with immigration officials. He suffered from high blood pressure and cholesterol. He collapsed and died while in custody in April. Medical staff didn't arrive for 25 minutes. That's according to fellow inmates who told Reuters that they tried to help. Federal immigration detention standards apparently call for a 4-minute medical emergency response time. Then there's Chao Feng Gi, a 32-year-old man from China. He was on medication for depression and bipolar disorder when he entered ICE detention last August. He stopped getting his medication. He died by suicide after a week in custody. And then there's Mohammed Paktiawal, a 41-year-old former Special Forces soldier from Afghanistan who fled the Taliban takeover with his family in 2021. He was detained by ICE on March 13th while taking his children to school. That day, he was hospitalized for shortness of breath. The next day, he died. There's still no confirmed cause of death. ICE's press release called him a criminal illegal alien because he had shoplifting charges. Also this week, MS Now reported that the Trump administration is deporting Dreamers, people brought here as children who have valid legal status under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, DACA. People like Jessica Trevino Villegas, a 34-year-old woman born in Mexico who has lived in Texas since she was 7 years old. She has no criminal record and valid DACA status, but ICE deported her. And now her 3 children are living without a mother. How's that for the worst of the worst? Brad Lander is one politician who's bearing witness to ICE's abuses. Since Trump returned to office, Lander has accompanied immigrants to and from hearings at a Manhattan federal building because Trump's ICE makes a habit of arresting immigrants who legally are attending those hearings. Lander himself was arrested by ICE last June. Here it is. They detained a man that he was accompanying. Last week, Brad Lander was found not guilty of blocking an elevator in that same building. With me now is Brad Lander, former New York City comptroller and councilman. As we mentioned, he's running to challenge Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman to represent New York's 10th congressional district. Brad, I don't know where to start. I don't know if 50 people is a lot to die in ICE custody because they're sweeping up so many people, but none of this is normal.
Correct. I mean, there's about 75,000 people in detention, twice as many as there were before the Trump regime. And all they're guilty of is trying to exercise their rights under the Global Compact Against Torture and go into their court hearings like they were supposed to. And they're on hunger strike at Delaney Hall, and 50 of them are dead. And we're in violation of the Global Convention Against Torture.
Yeah, it's kind of remarkable when you look at how this continues to be the case. It's also remarkable to see the degree to which Americans have risen up against this.
That's right.
But I mean, you've told me the story every time you come in here. But it's important to understand. You go to court for people who have shown up for their court hearing.
Yeah, so I was there today.
Yes, okay.
As are dozens of other New Yorkers who have gotten some training.
Yeah.
And you go in the building. I mean, now they've started doing this thing called mega master calendar hearings, where they've started accelerating people's cases by 6 months, giving them almost no notice.
Right.
So 40% of the people wind up not even getting the notice, maybe being absent, and then their deportation can be ordered. But we're down there in packed rooms, and you've got young people trying to take care of the kids, and you've got people saying, look, I want to let you know know what happens if you do get abducted by an ICE agent in the hallway. I'm going to make sure we get you a lawyer to bring a habeas motion.
Right. And even that's not all that smooth. People get these habeas motions, which you're allowed to do. It's in the United States Constitution. And then there are these extreme bond measures that are taken, or they determine that you're a flight risk. There's a remarkable effort to stop a normal legal process. 11 years ago, yesterday, Donald Trump came down that golden escalator and said, we're going to remove murderers and rapists. And then he called them the worst of the worst and the bad hombres and all that. But you're meeting these people. They are none of the above.
I've sat in over 200 hearings. One time there was an offense other than civil immigration, and it was public urination. And the other 199 plus, not one at all. These are people just trying to escape persecution, build a better life for themselves. If they're guilty of anything, it's that they fled economic misery and poverty instead of torture and war. They are not people who are putting us in any jeopardy. It's Donald Trump who's putting us in jeopardy.
Tell me about your case. They arrested you, and then what happened?
Yeah, so this was the second time I got arrested, and we were demanding access to the detention facilities on the 10th floor, which a federal judge had said were inhumane. People weren't getting food, didn't have an opportunity. There were no beds there, just awful. So we went, knocked on the door, just demanded access. They said you could stay if you stopped banging on the door. So I sat down on the floor. We sat in a little circle, and then they just came and arrested us. And then they brought a totally knuckle-headed case. They said that we were obstructing the elevator, and I had good lawyers, so they just demolished the case. Interestingly, it's by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, Jay Clayton, nominated to be the DNI, who could be prosecuting so many other cases. ICE is committing crimes every day in there. He had to go before a federal judge and say, Your Honor, the memo, the ICE guidance that they say applies to detaining people in the hallways of immigration court, it doesn't apply. It never applied. There's some people that should be prosecuted for that, not me for demanding access to the detention facilities. And thankfully, Magistrate Judge Ricardo listened to the case, gave me a thoughtful and thorough hearing, and then dismissed all the charges.
You are up for election next Tuesday. In your district, whoever wins will likely be the next member of Congress to the United States. In Manhattan, that's the way it's going to go. What are you hearing in your final days?
I mean, people are fed up with corporate Democrats who don't know what time it is. They're sick of, my voters in New York 10, sick of people who just keep taking money from Wall Street and crypto and AIPAC, tired of sending money for Netanyahu's wars, want people who absolutely fight Trump, but also we're going to stand up to bullies and billionaires and deliver something for working families. A good spirit is moving in New York right now, partly thanks to the Knicks, partly thanks to Mayor Mamdani. Bernie's coming tomorrow. People can see there's something better. Fight back against this rigged, corrupt system. Deliver housing people can afford, and health care and child care. That's what voters want.
Fred, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on having your case acquitted, although I think you're pretty confident that if it got to a court, it was going to be acquitted. At least you still believe in the justice system, which is great. Brad Lander is a congressional candidate in New York 10. We'll be covering that race very closely on Tuesday night. All right, coming up every night, we close this show with a nightlight, a daily bit of hope to get us through the night and into tomorrow. Stories of people who are doing the important work of holding up democracy every day, keeping the lights on. Tonight's nightlight will take us to, of all places, a bathroom in Boise, Idaho.